Have you ever had someone in your life that was special to you that seems like they were always on time when you needed them the most? Well, let me take you back to 1979 in Niagara Falls, New York. I was 9 years old. I grew up on North Avenue. I was an active kid who always played sports. My father, who worked at a plant, had a good job. Always enjoyed nice cars, nice clothes, and even a nice bike. I could always tell when he came home when it would be a long day. But let me take you back to this one particular day. So he came home, I was outside in front of the house. I knew when it would be a bad day because I could smell alcohol on his breath. And typically those days, I would be the brunt of his abuse. He would speak, "Hey boy, what is going on?" and go in the house. I was thinking, I hope he goes in the house to take a nap. So therefore, I would not have to be bothered with him. So keep in mind that my grandmother lived next door. Thank God for that. After he got in the house, I would wait for a little while. I go in the house, pretend like I was getting a glass of water so I could see what his next moves would be. So he comes out of the bathroom and he is in his workout attire. Oh boy, here we go. So I'm drinking, looking around, and watching as he heads to the back room. And that is where he stored his bike, which he called the green machine, the 27-inch Swin or something. Now my anxiety is starting to rise. He goes to get the bike and comes strolling through the kitchen. I am still looking around, sipping on my water. He says to me, "Are you ready?" I responded, "Ready for what?" He says to learn how to ride this bike. Now I'm definitely getting nervous, pacing back and forth with my water. I'm hoping that when we go outside, none of my buddies would be around. Therefore, I would be able to take my growing pains by falling off the bike and getting back up. But of course, they were outside, like 5 or 6 of them. The first thing they said when they saw my father was, Mr. David, can I go first? Can I ride the bike first?" That seems like an ongoing question. My father says, "Little David must ride first." Now my heart is racing because I didn't want to ride the bike due to having fears. I was not ready to ride the bike, and some of my other friends were just more courageous. Meanwhile, in the midst of them trying to figure out who was going to go second or third, I snuck off. And I went to my grandmother's house and used her bathroom, which was my safe haven, my getaway spot. My grandmother was in the house cooking a meal for my granddad and my aunts. So now I'm in the bathroom 10 to 15 minutes with my hands covering my head. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to go outside. I don't want to face him. This time, I hear a voice, "David!" I ignore it. "David!" I ignore it. "David, come outside and stop being a punk. Stop being a sissy," and a few other choice words. "All your friends out here riding the bike. Come out here and ride the damn bike." Meanwhile, my grandmother, who was the gatekeeper of the neighborhood, when she was not working, she would sit on the porch to see what is going on with who was doing right, who was doing something wrong. Who should we stay away from, and who was the new kids on the street? Things like that. She was always right on time. My grandmother comes up to the bathroom door and calls me by one of my nicknames. And she says, "Maine, are you okay in there?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Are you sure? Because you are in there longer than you typically are in there." I responded back and said, "I'm okay." Something must have told her to wait by the door. And she listened and heard my father yelling my name, "David!" So my grandmother goes outside. She says, "What is going on here, man?" My father says, "Bay," which is my grandmother's nickname. "Is David in there? I'm trying to get him to come outside to ride my bike." She says, "Ride the bike? Okay. So what is the problem?" He says, "I just do not want my son to be a punk. Everyone else is riding the bike and he refuses to ride it." She says, he don't got to ride that bike because the other boys are riding it. He will ride that bike when he gets good and ready to. You cannot make someone ride something they aren't ready to ride." He said, "He's still my son, and I want him to learn how to ride. He is taller than some of the boys, and they are still riding it." She says, "I do not care about them other boys who are riding your bike. Let me tell you something. You need to go back where you came from, drinking beers with your buddies, and leave my baby alone. He is going to be all right. I'm going to tell you right now, I better not hear no more about this bike. If you want someone to ride the bike, you ride that damn bike. Do you understand me? Because clearly he is not ready to ride it, and I got this under control right here, and he is going to be all right." By me hearing this, suddenly I feel relieved. Whew. Like finally, maybe he won't mess with me anymore. Maybe the torture is over. So I go outside because now I have confidence to walk out. I knew my grandmother meant what she said. I walk out and I stand on the porch for a minute. My grandmother pats me on the head and rubs my head and says, "Maine, go play. You ain't got to worry no more. You do not have to worry no more." Suddenly and instantly, my grandmother became my hero. I really felt her words, and I knew I did not have to worry no more. My grandmother always kept her word, so I ran off to go play. And the world was lifted off my broad shoulders. So, anytime you are going through something, I truly hope you have that special person you can count on that will always have your back. They will always be on time, and they will be there for you in any capacity of life. When you have someone like my grandmother, Bay, remember, she would say, "You ain't got to worry no more. You don't have to worry no more." That's it.